I hope you can hear us well. My name is Beata Ofianecka. I'm here with my colleague Shivali Mehrotra. We are representing Directorate for Digital Services and the unit in charge of digital transformation. We will be indeed presenting you use of e-procurement tools from the point of view economic operators, companies who like to participate in the context of call for tenders. So we would like to present you European Union Funding and Tenders portal, which is the gate for all the call for tenders and also for grants, programs in the context of grants, which are published by the European Union institutions and bodies. Then the most important action for you will be to find the call for tenders and procurement opportunities. So we will explain and show you how to find those procurement opportunities and how to save your searches. So you'll be able to save and be notified about the call for tenders published in the context of your safe searches. We will also explain you how to register in FNT portal. So to perform certain actions, you will need to register your organization. And also we will cover and show through the demo how to express interest in the planned call for tenders. And also we will show you how to submit a tender, which is very similar to submission of requests to participate in the context of restricted procedures. And we will finish with some historical data, some statistics about the usage of FNT portal. So first we will go through the PowerPoint presentation, and then we will show you 3 demos. So we'll be demo on searching and saving the searches. Then we will show you demo how to express interest in planned negotiated call for tenders. And the last demo will be to show you how to submit a tender. So your main entry point to find business opportunities for your companies is European Union Funding and Tenders portal. This is the single entry for all participants and experts in funding programs and tenders, which are managed by the European Commission and other EU bodies. So this is where all the call for tenders, for example, are published by European Commission, institutions and EU bodies. The portal is also called SIDIA, which means Single Electronic Data Interchange Area, meaning that all the information which are published in the context of call for tenders are available through this single entry. Why you should use FNT portal? So first of all, you can search for call for tenders or proposals in the context of grants. For that, you don't need to have any account, any registration. So basically, you can perform searches for call for tenders, and you don't need to be registered in our portal. You can also save searches, as I mentioned before. We will show you that through the demo. You can subscribe to call for tenders. You can ask questions through the portal in the context of published call for tenders. For that, you will need to have an EU login account. We will explain you how to create this EU login account. And then, of course, the most important activity for you as economic operator companies will be to express interest in plan, negotiated call for tenders, or submit a request to participate in the context of restricted procedure, or to submit a tender in the context of open procedure or negotiated procedure, because in this context of the negotiated procedures, you will also need to submit a tender. So how to look for the procurement opportunities is very simple. And the EU funding and tenders portal, we call it also FNT portal, so we can use the short name for this platform. You will need to go to the procurement in your top menu of the FNT portal and then select calls for tenders. Then you'll be presented with the screen where current call for tenders are published. We will show you in the first demo how to search for the calls and how to use the filters which are available to narrow your searches. Those filters are, for example, searching by contracting authority, or maybe you would like to search for the procedure type, for open procedures, and etc. So we will show you through the demo in a few minutes how to search and how to save the searches which are interested for you. So you will need to have an EU login account required only when you want, for example, save your searches. So when you want to search for the call for tenders, you don't need to have any account. You don't need to be registered in the portal. So EU login will be required for the saving your searches. If you would like to bookmark pages related for tenders. In this context, you'll be able to go back to the place where the all bookmarked done by you will be available, so you can very quickly identify the procedures you are interested in. You can also subscribe to call for tenders. So if you are interested in one of the call for tenders which is published, or maybe interested in the prior information notice, which is the ex-ante publicity preceding the call for tenders, then you can subscribe to those calls, and then you'll be notified, for example, when the call for tenders is published. You will be also notified in the context of published call for tenders you are subscribed to. If there are new documents, for example, published in the context of the call, or if there were new questions and answers published in the context of the call. So I mentioned that you will need to have an EU login account to perform certain actions and which are available for you within the portal. So EU login is the gate which will give you access to EU information services and system. You will need to register in the European Commission user authentication system, which we called EU login. How to do that? It's very simple. The registration takes 1 to 2 minutes. So first, you will need to click on the button Sign In on the FNT portal. As you can see, this button is available on the top right of the screen. Then you will have to click on Create an account. So this is in the middle screen capture. Of course, if you have already EU login, then you can sign in directly. But if you don't have it, then you have to create this account. And then once you click on the Create an account, you will be redirected to the very simple form where you have to provide information about you. So the first name, last name, your email address. And then by clicking Create an account, your EU login account will be created automatically. If you would like to submit a tender or submit a request to participate, or also if you would like to express the interest in the planned call for tenders, you will need to register your organization in FNT portal participant register. This is the online Commission organizations register, where the companies who would like to submit a tender or request to participate or express their interest are registered. The registration is open to all organizations, so anyone who would like to submit a tender, for example, can register in the database. Registration is free of charge, and it will take around 5 to 10 minutes. You do not need to provide any documents when you register your company, so you don't need to upload any proof of your company organization existence. Once you register, so after 5-10 minutes completing this registration form, you will obtain a unique participant identification code. So this is code, this PIC, we call it, is required to express interest in plan calls for tenders and submit requests to participate or tenders. This is done in the context of once only principle. So data related to participants' organization, so your company, will need to be entered only once through this FNT portal. And of course, this PIC, this participant identification code, can be reused for as many call for tenders or submissions in the context also of programs, grants, can be reused. So you don't need to create this PIC every time you want to submit a tender. So how to register your organization to receive this participant identification code? An FNT portal, in the menu you will have the button funding. By clicking on the button funding, you will see the entry participant register. So after clicking on the participant register, you will need to click on register your organization. You'll be presented with a form, as you can see here on the screen. It's very simple and straightforward form. With the metro line at the top of the form, which will guide you through the process of the registration of your organization. So as you can see, there are only 6 steps in the process. As I mentioned before, the registration of your organization will take about 5 to 10 minutes, so it's quite simple. And simply you will need to fill in your company details. So you, after completing this 5 steps, and on the 6th step, you will need to submit your request to register your organization. The unique participant identification code of your organization will be generated and sent to you. And this PIC, this code, you will need to use when you, for example, submit a tender. So when you how you have to what you can submit in the context of public procurement procedures, you can express interest in the planned low or middle value negotiated procedures. So this can be done by any economic operator. There are no restrictions. So anyone who is interested in the coming up planned negotiated procedure can express their interest. We will show you in the demo how you can express this interest. You can also submit a request to participate or tender in the context of the public procurement procedures, open procedure, restricted procedures. Those are the procedure with publication of the contract notice in the EU official journal. So as there are open public procedures, any economic operator can submit a request to participate or tender. And then we have another type of the procedure, negotiated procedure. So in the context of negotiated procedures, only economic operators who are invited by the contracting authority will receive an invitation to submit a tender. This is just to show you how to express interest in planned call for tenders through the screen capture. We will, as I mentioned, we will show you live demo how to do that. By basically an FNT portal, you will find the planned call for tenders. So once you access the ex-ante publicity for this planned call for tenders. On the page, you will have button express interest under section expression of interest. So simply by clicking express interest, you will be redirected to the system where you can introduce your interest. And then the second part we want to show you, it will be how to submit a tender. Again, we will have a demo. So here is just simply to show you where you can find access submission for the, in this context, open procedure. So while on the page, you will see the information, detailed information about call for tenders, and on the left hand you will have the link to submission of tenders. This will be also available once you scroll all the information about the call. So under the submission of tenders section, you will have the button access submission. So this is where you'll be able to submit a tender in the context of the open procedure. We will show it through the demo. Once you're redirected to e-submission, you'll be presented with detailed information about the procedure, which are same as on FNT portal call page. And once you accept terms and conditions, this is at the bottom of the page, you will be able to start a new submission. So the submission of the tender in this context. We would like to share some statistical data about the call for tenders, which are published on FNT portal since 2023. This is where the portal came into the picture for the call for tenders. So as you can see, the total number of calls which are published on FNT portal, planned public calls, low middle value negotiated calls, public calls for tenders, and also invitations for the second step of public two-step call for tenders is increasing. So in 2023, we have 125 tenders, call for tenders published. Last year, we come up to the number of over 2,000, and the number till March of this year is 506 call for tenders published by the European Union institutions and EU bodies. We have also, we would like to show you also number of subscriptions. So we have a total of almost 8,000 subscribers. So the companies who are subscribed to companies who are the subscribers to different call for tenders. And then we have a total number of subscriptions, which is over 21,000. This is the subscriptions to the specific call for tenders which are published on FNT portal. We have some guidance for you as the economic operators, companies who are interested to participate in the call for tenders. So we have an EU funding and tenders portal e-procurement wiki, the quick guides e-submission for all types of the procedures. So we have a quick guide for the open procedure, we have quick guides for the two-step procedure, and etc. Those guides are available in all 24 EU languages, so they're translated into your language. On this e-procurement wiki, we also provide step-by-step guidance on using e-procurement. We have training materials, we have release notes where we share all the latest developments and functionalities which are available on FNT portal and also on e-submission. We have a guidance on how to, for example, create and submit the questions in the context of call for tenders. There is also guidance on FNT portal itself, so on EU funding and tenders portal. You will find guidance and documents and also frequently asked questions. So if you have any questions in the context of the procurement procedures, you can consult those guidance or frequently asked questions to seek for answers. We have also help desk and support. So in case you need to contact someone for help in the context of the procedure, submission of the tender, and etc., you can send a mail to the address indicated on the slide, or in the urgent cases, for example, when the deadline, submission deadline for the call for tenders is approaching and you have a problem to submit the tender for whatever reason, you can call directly the help desk. What's important, the help desk is available from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening of Brussels time. So if you have issue, you make sure that you call during the working hours of the help desk. And the last, but not last least, we would like to ask you for feedback. So we would appreciate if you share with us your experience with FNT portal. We're interested in your user experience. Was the portal easy to navigate, for example? Did you find all the information necessary to proceed with your call for tenders? About functionalities. So, for example, did all features work as expected? Were there any technical issues or barriers? And also, we would appreciate your feedback about support. So was the available help, guides, frequently asked questions section, help desk and support services sufficient in addressing your question? So we would like to invite you to share with us your feedback, your comments at the email address, which is available on this page, with any suggestions and comments. I will give now the floor to my colleague Shivali. So she will present us the 3 demos we mentioned at the beginning of this short presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Beata. Please give me a second to open the portal. I will just stop sharing for a second. I hope you can see the portal. So this is how the FNT portal would appear. As my colleague has mentioned, it's quite a user-friendly portal. So in order to search for call for tenders, you need not sign in. It is open for everyone. So to search the procurement procedures, you can go from the top panel to the procurement section and click on call for tenders. As soon as you click here, you will be taken to the call for tenders page where all the published procedures and call for tenders will then be shown. You can filter the results. So there are a lot of options available in the left-hand navigation. For example, you can filter based on contracting authority if you would like, or the procedure type, say open procedure, restricted, plan, negotiated procedure for middle and low value contracts. Apart from these filter options, if you would click on the all filters, it is possible to have more options available for you, say for example, based on the country and the location or the CPV code. For example, in our demo, say for example, if we would like to search the call for tenders based on research and development services, we can click on the CPV code for research and development, view the results, and the results are shown here. So this way, there are a lot of parameters that you can choose. If you would like to enhance the search more, we can also maybe choose based on open for submissions. The filter results are then more summarized. So you have only those call for tenders with the CPV code we have chosen, which are open for submissions. If you would like to save the search that you have chosen based on the criteria that you have chosen, as mentioned by my colleague Beata, you would then have to sign in. For that, you would need an EU login account if you do not have one, which is very quickly, as we have shown in the demo. It just takes 1 or 2 minutes to create an EU login account. So let's sign in. As soon as you sign in, you will notice that now you have an option called as saved searches. So we have selected some criteria that we would like to save our search on. And if you click on save, you can give a name, for example, search. And we click save. Once it is done, you would receive a successful message. In order to view your saved searches, if you click on the 3 bars on the top panel, you would find a section called as saved searches. Clicking on that would bring you to the saved searches page, where under the call for tenders tab, you will be able to find your saved searches. So this is quite useful. You can create many criteria, save the searches, and if, for example, at a later point you would like to come to the respective search, all you have to do is click on the link here, and it takes you to the call for tender page, where based on the criteria you had selected, those details are then available in the filter results. So this is one of a very unique and a useful feature for the saved searches. Now we would like to show you how you can express interest for a planned procedure. Let me just clear all the information so that we have all the published procedures for us. For this demo, we would like to select plan negotiated procedure for middle and low value, and we would be choosing JRC as the contracting authority, and the status will be forthcoming. Let's choose the second one, and as you come here, you are taken to the respective procedure page. So this is the plan call for tenders. As you scroll down under the section expression of interest, you will see a button express interest. We click here, and we are taken to the e-submission portal, where you will have details about the title, the description, the contracting authority who has published the call, the reference, procedure reference. We accept the terms and conditions, click on new submission, and we are taken to the e-submission portal. It is just 3-step workflow. For our demo purpose, we would choose sole submission. Click on next. A new party, the main participant, the organization which is planning to submit. I will just take a PIC number. So you can search for the PIC number, you can search for the organization or enter the main participant, and you have a lot of criteria based on which you can search either the PIC number, the country, the VAT, or the national registration number. We've chosen the PIC number. Click on search, and you have the details. This is the correct one. Select. The submission can be based on the contact person, can be either the person who has logged into the e-submission portal and is submitting, or if the main contact person is another user, the details need to be filled in, the first name, last name, and the email address. Let's choose Shivali, and we say done. Once it is done, so the details of the participant are now filled in. The next step would be party details. It gets filled automatically, and the final would be to just submit. As soon as you click submit, the expression for interest for the planned negotiated call is then submitted into the system. So this is one of the first demos that we wanted to show you regarding the planned procedure for middle and low value. I can now take you to the second third demo that we want to show how to submit a tender. For this, we are going to the acceptance environment, which is a test environment. So this is how the procedure would appear. Let's refresh it so we have all the data available. As you can see, on the left-hand navigation, you have a lot of sections available where you have the TED reference, the details of the call, the documents, the submission. So if you scroll down, you can either subscribe to the call for tender details as shown by my colleague Beata in the presentation. So you can click on it and you would be subscribed to the respective call. The documents are available under the documents section. And you can also ask a question to the respective contracting authority regarding the call for tender by clicking on the button Create Question, enter the details of your question and submit it. Let's access e-submission. This is how you would submit your tender. In our case, it's an open procedure as a test example. We are taken to the e-submission portal where at the top you will have details about the procedure type, the type of contract, the value. As we scroll down, we can accept the terms and conditions, click on New Submission. We enter the party details, the main participant. And here you can either search for the organization based on the list that you have about your organization, or if the tender is to be submitted for another organization, you can choose the other option also from here. Let's go to my organization, and we are submitting the tender for the test organization where the PIC number is, this is the PIC number that we need to use for the submission. We click on continue. You can give a bank account number. If you choose IBAN and it is not a correct IBAN, you would receive an error message here so that you can make the required correction. The contact person, in this case, would be me. A lot of attachments need to be filled based on the call for tender and the requirements of the contracting authority. Let's start with declaration of honor. And based on what documents need to be filled, you can go to the respective sections by clicking either of the options available here. Done. We are now in the parties section. Click on next. And here you need to confirm if the tender complies with the minimum requirements specified in the procurement documents. Under the attachment section, you will have to fill in the required, you will have to fill in the mandatory documents. So let's go for financial. And if we need to fill a technical one also, let me take one from one of my I'm sorry, there seems to be a bit of a connection issue. And we click on next. And once you have filled in all the details, you are taken to the submission report section where a summary of all the documents that you have submitted is shown. So you see the submission details, the procedure details, the identification of the participants, the documents that were filled, the tender details, and who has created at what time. All these details are available in the submission report. It can be downloaded if needed from here, or a printout can be taken. And once it is done, the final step is to submit. So this is this is the final step, the submission. You can, of course, if you feel at any point that a document was missing or some data needs to be corrected, you can always go back and correct the data. Once you are sure of the details that have been filled, you can just click on submit. A confirmation pop-up is available and we click on yes. As soon as you submit the tender, it is an acceptance environment, so that is why it is a bit slow on our end, but in the production, in the main, it is quite quick. And once you have submitted, you receive a confirmation message with the submission ID and the details that the tender has been submitted to the respective contracting authority with the date and time. You can always go to the FNT portal to view your submission and the details about the submission. So I hope it was very clear, the demo. I will stop sharing now. And if you have any questions,
that we will not be able to ask them the questions, but if you have questions, we can collect the questions and pass to the colleagues and then share the answers, and we will organize together with the upload of the presentations. So I would suggest that if you have questions, keep them for you, and after we finish this part and we go to the one-to-one, I can collect these questions, as I mentioned, and pass to the colleagues. But before you submit your tenders, you need to prepare them. I think that's very important. And the colleagues have prepared also the presentation, practical guidance, how to prepare your tender. So this is important before you go to one of those portals and to submit your tender. So I would ask the colleagues to come and...
Okay, may I start? So, good afternoon, everyone. And now I would like you to talk about the key steps and principles that should guide your approach when you decide to participate in a tender procedure. So we will be presenting some essential aspects of the bidding process, and this aspect can influence the outcome of your tender submission. So these steps are crucial to ensure that your submission is compliant, professional, and ultimately, possibly successful. So let's dive into this aspect, how we move on with the presentation. Yes. All right. So, click. All right. So, we start with some basics checks. So the basic checks are, first of all, go or no-go triggers. So before even you consider preparing your tender, you must first assess whether it's worth your time and effort to get into it. And the concept of the go triggers means that you meet all the basic requirements to participate, and you have the necessary experience, resources, and qualification to fulfill the tender requirements. And a no-go trigger, on the other hand, suggests that there are some risk or some obstacle that may prevent you from being able to deliver on what is required in the tender specification. And yeah, this could also take into account some insufficient resources, lack of qualification, or any type of inability to meet the technical specification. So it's critical that you have a clear understanding of your own capabilities and limitation before deciding to engage in a tendering process. So make sure that you can assess your triggers, your go or no-go, and then you have to ensure your eligibility. So eligibility means that each tender procedure asks for specific criteria, and these criteria are financial standing, technical qualification, experience in similar projects, and if you don't meet these criteria, this can disqualify your submission outright. Eligibility also involves some requirements as being established in a member country, and sometimes we ask for similar previous experience, similar contracts that you may have had before starting your process. Avoid any personal contact with the with procuring institution staff. So if we publish a tender, you may have a lot of questions, but for our rules and transparency and fairness, and in order not to give any advantage to any of the company that may want to participate, so you must refrain from seeking personal contact with staff in the contracting authority. We have a dedicated space in the F&T portal, as you just seen in the demo. There is a Q&A session, so please just go there and ask all your questions, but no contact. So even if you can find our email in the tender documents, that will not be used to ask clarification on the tender. And then make sure that you pay extremely attention to the timeline that is given. So you have to avoid to get there too late. So one of the tips that I heard during today and this morning, it was just that last-minute submissions are very risky. Are very risky from a point of view that you may have missed some documents, and then there is no time to make it available for you, or maybe you can encounter some glitch or problems in the IT systems, and this puts your submission at risk. So try to avoid that and pay extremely attention to the timeline. And lastly, use the indicated platform, so F&T portal, e-submission, and submitting through the wrong channel can result in your tender in being rejected or even lost. So do not submit via an email, for example. Do not send anything via post unless specifically required. Always double check the submission guidelines and ensure that your tender is submitted in the manner specified. And if you have any uncertainty about the process, do not hesitate to seek for clarification through the official communication channels. And the next. So you have now, when you have all this information, you can start to prepare your offer and create your bid plan. So it's demonstrated that the most successful economic operators are the ones that have maybe a dedicated office or department that is able to create a bid plan. So a well-structured plan is crucial to managing your resources, your time, and your efforts effectively. So the bid plan should outline every phase of the tender preparation process, so from initial research to final submission. Break down some tasks that are such like gathering all the documentation. Maybe you need to conduct some internal reviews. You may want to start coordinating with partners, or you need to find subcontractors in order to deliver the services that you're bidding for. Ensure you set realistic deadlines and milestones for each stage of your planning. And it's equally important to ensure that you have sufficient available resources human resources, financial resources, technical resources to support the preparation of your offer. Then you have to familiarize yourself with the e-submission platform and the technical requirements. So as you just saw in the demo before, maybe you get in and you just check it out before you start the process, so well in advance, so you are familiar and you know where to upload your documents, what are the information that you need to have at hand when starting the whole process, right? And of course, familiarize also yourself with the tender documents. As you saw, the documents are uploaded and they are available and they don't require a login to have access to. So you can have access to these documents before deciding whether you want to participate or not. So download the documents and read them very carefully. You are also welcome to ask all your questions well in advance. We reply fairly soon, immediately, so when we are notified and we receive the question on our tendering procedure, we go through it and we give an answer. The answer is public. So another tip, important, is just like keep always an eye on the platform and read also the question that have been already answered. Maybe there is no need for you to ask again and you can already find the reply to your question. Yeah, the tender documents are a critical step when you have to prepare your bid. So read them carefully. Don't rush through the part of the process. Pay attention to every section of the tender, technical specification, contractual terms, and any condition that you must meet in order to be successful. If you get into the risk of missing key details or misinterpreting the requirements, can lead your offer to be disqualified or rejected. And pay attention that there is no second chance, especially in open call. What has been submitted cannot be altered in a second stage or in a later stage. Only during negotiating procedure there will be a space to negotiate and we can get back to you and ask for some clarification. But this is not the case when you are participating in open calls. So no room for interpretation, but no room for ambiguity, confusion, but only something professional, very detailed and specific. So in conclusion, if you want to be successful, it's very good to pay attention to detail and that you understand the rules and the requirements to participate in our call for tenders. And now I leave the floor to my colleague Inga Suvi from ACDC, no, sorry, and she will guide you how to prepare for the tender.
Thank you. So, Suvi here again from ECDC. And I'm going to talk to you about administrative documents, exclusion and selection criteria. So this is the infamous part of bureaucracy, the documents, the papers. But it's really not that complicated. If you look at what is actually requested, it's, in my opinion, quite simple. So let's go and have a look. So it's applicable to the tenderer, to the company as such, how it is at the moment or how it has been in the recent years. And it's a pass or fail assessment. So you either have it or you don't. And in the section of administrative documents, we ask for the business partner identification form, which were previously known as legal entity file and bank account file. And this is really a straightforward document that you fill in yourself with basic information of the company, the official name, the address, the registration number, and the same for the bank account file, the number of the bank account, and then you can They are signed by the legal representative of the company, and then you can most of the time simply print out something from the tax authorities as a supporting document like the VAT registration number. Then moving on to the exclusion criteria. This is assessed in the first place through the declaration on honor. It is a template that is published in the call for tender. And it's a self-declaration, which is also signed then by the representative of the company. Specific evidence will be asked for this purpose. So it can be either together with the submission of tender or maybe at the later stage. So this is also written in the tender. And it consists mainly of judicial records saying that the persons in the decision-making positions of the company don't have any criminal convictions, that the company is up to date with their tax payments, so like a certificate from the tax authority, that you are up to date with the social security contributions. So this is all the evidence for the exclusion situation, which would be maybe being in a situation of bankruptcy or being convicted for fraud or child labor. So it's really quite basic in Europe. So then moving on to the selection criteria, we will also assess this again through the declaration on honor. It's the same template that was in for the exclusion criteria, but there's a different section for the selection criteria. Here, the specific evidence will be submitted together with the tender most of the times, and it can be CVs for the people who are going to be performing the work. So maybe we need a specific expertise of people who have certain professional background. In the case of ECDC, for example, we often want people with a degree in epidemiology or medicine. It could be certifications related to the company, maybe a quality management system like ISO 9001 or environmental management system 14001 or equivalent. And then lastly, for the financial and economic capacity, we most of the times use the turnover as a criteria, or it could also be a ratio for financial viability, for example. Our top tips for this section would be to use always the templates that are provided in the current procedure. These are updated every now and then, so it's good to make sure that you have the right version. In the declaration on honor, make sure you tick all the boxes, but read carefully how it is formulated, because sometimes you might have to tick yes, other times no, such as my company is in the situation of bankruptcy, no. We fulfill the selection criteria, yes. So not just to go, no, no, no. If you feel that you don't have sufficient capacity for the selection criteria, you can rely on partners and subcontractors, and this way prepare a joint tender. Do not send the documents which are not required. However, make sure that you have it available in case it would be requested at the later stage. For the exclusions and selection criteria, make sure that you cover all the requirements, because should they not be covered, then we cannot continue the evaluation. And again, in case of a doubt, please make a question through the F&T portal. There are no stupid questions. Okay, then moving on to the award criteria. So this is about the quality and price of the tender, so the offer. How do you propose to provide the deliverables or do the services requested? And it's a point-based assessment. So let's say the award criteria is 100 points, and then it's maybe divided into smaller parts like methodology or the composition of team and timeliness and that type of criteria. So the quality criteria is assessed through the technical offer. And in the open call for tender, the technical offer is non-negotiable. In the negotiated procedure, as the name says, there is some room for negotiation. So the offer must comply with the minimum requirements. And please make sure that you also read the draft contract, because that is also non-negotiable. So should you not agree with the draft contract, then there's maybe no point in submitting a tender. The evaluation is carried out only based on the information that is contained in the technical offer. So even though if you would have been worked with us in the past and done a good job, we cannot take that into consideration. So we can only assess what is in the technical offer. And this is to ensure the equal treatment among the tenderers. Then we have the award criteria of the price, and this is assessed through the financial offer. So it is basically what is the total price of the services or of the deliverables that you are offering. And then our top tips for this section would be to pay attention to the weighting of the award criteria. There's also a weighting between the award and the price, which is somewhere between 50-50 or maybe 70-30 in the favor of the quality. Make sure you present clearly the added value of your offer to help our evaluators to understand the value of your offer, because if we've received a lot of offers, it's good that it's clear and concise. So, which is the next point, be clear and concise. So more text or more pages will not result in higher points. And do not use hyperlinks. So anything that is not included in the tender cannot be taken into consideration. So outside information, apart from what was submitted, cannot be taken into consideration. And check carefully the requirements of the financial offer, what is to be included in the prices, and what is maybe reimbursed afterwards. Could be some travel expenses, for example. Then make sure that you respect the templates and the ceilings of the financial offer. If you modify the financial tender or the template, it might lead into a non-compliant tender, in which case we would not be able to evaluate this further. And then lastly, before submitting your tender, make sure to do a completeness check. So, yes, and with that, I will hand over to my colleague from EMAM.
Thank you. And now I will talk about the evaluation. So after submission of the tender, we have the evaluation. This is part which is actually not visible for the tenders because it's something done behind the scene, which actually contracting authority needs to do in order to evaluate all the proposals. The process starts from the moment that actually there is opening of the tender. So after the deadline, usually after on the same day or the next day, there is the official opening of the tenders. And then the evaluation committee starts with the evaluation of all the tenders submitted. And the evaluation committee usually composition of the evaluation committee is always decided before the tender is launched. Usually these are 3 members. Also experts can be also appointment internal or external depending on the technicalities of the tender. We have 3 members. Usually 2 are coming from the same department, 1 from the outside of the department who will be actually implementing the contract, and that's for the transparency. And the committee members always sign a confidentially conflict of interest declaration, and this is always before the opening of the tenders. If there is any conflict of interest being raised by any of the member or experts, then obviously these are replaced and the notice being done on that as well. Then the rules of contact when it's come to evaluation committee, it's during the evaluation process, there is no actually contact with evaluation committee, so please never contact us during the evaluation unless specifically requested by us, and that usually comes with the clarification, which I explain in a second. And evaluation is exclusively based on the exclusion, selection, and award criteria, which my colleagues were already speaking, announced in advance without any modifications. And obviously, evaluation committee has a supportive decision-making as a body. They recommend, they evaluate the proposals, and they recommend then based on the evaluation that has been has been done to the authorizing officer. An authorizing officer, what I mean usually, is one of the contract management responsible for the area who will be implementing actually the contract within that basically department and is responsible for the budget. And here the process, usually with the evaluation, or maybe I will mention about the contact with the evaluation committee. So evaluation committee can sometimes contact you when during the evaluation process for clarification purposes. And this happens usually within only 3 areas, and that happens for the request of correction of clerical errors. Then you have requests for missing information or missing documentation from your proposal, and on the selection and exclusion criteria, and requests for clarification on unclear aspects of the tender, basically. And only in these situations you will receive information, you will receive emails from evaluation committee, and it's always done in writing. It's never done via phone. And then evaluation process is a standard process. So here you will have this is the kind of like a little bit like metro line, where you have the administrative compliance, exclusion selection criteria, and technical compliance. And this is important to remember that these 3 parts, which is administrative compliance, which my colleague already mentioned, so this is administrative forms, usually is declaration of interest, information about your company, and the minimum technical requirements. It's always assessed based on yes or no. There is no assessment of the merits or quality. Only technical proposal, it's assessed based on the actual merits, so quality, and it's based on the technical specifications. So the question you are being asked to answer, this is what we actually check, and we check with the technical proposal, which is technical specification or terms of reference, depending how the agency uses the terminology. And the last one is the price, and the price is usually given to evaluation committee at the end of the technical proposal evaluation. So evaluation committee will never see the price before they actually submit their final evaluation report to the procurement officer with the points already given for each tenderer, for each technical proposal. And only then the price is being disclosed, and then the price based on the weighting is being then calculated. So the top tips here is always do not contact the evaluation committee, but please reply to evaluation committee in case of the clarification being asked to you. Ensure that you actually contact information that you provide in the tender, it's actually valid and we can contact you. And make sure that you understand what is the compliance, which is administrative compliance, exclusion selection criteria, and minimum technical requirements, which is actually assessed by yes, no. So we just check the boxes, whether they were ticked or not, and they were ticked correct or not. And then, and if the documents actually were submitted, if like a full package, everything what we asked, it's there. And then technical proposal is always on the merits and quality. And then from the evaluation committee perspective, you can see, which I mentioned, so please check which is actually the minimum technical requirements, which is always say as a must. So this is essential criteria. Also, never provide us variants, never send us offer above the price, above the ceiling, and this is always in the technical specification. Technical specification, you will always have it mentioned, for example, maximum price to be awarded for this specific contract is. And obviously, please try to avoid any ambiguous, something which is unclear in your technical proposal. When it comes to technical merits, which was actually already mentioned, so this is always evaluated based on the award criteria already announced in advance. We do not also compare tenderers, so each tender is assessed individually. Also, we do not take into account during our assessment the prior experience, which my colleague also mentioned, that if we even have the contractor who worked with us before and submitted a tender, we don't take that into account. We just check what is actually their proposal. And then obviously make sure that you actually check the, when it comes to the quality proposal, which is qualitative award criteria, very often you will have questions like on the methodology, how would you work, what you would provide, and then you have a points assigned, and sometimes you have also weighting assigned. Please check if it's actually per criteria or it's actually overall. And that's actually quite important, because if you answer all the questions and, for example, you will, one of them is not, I don't know, you don't have that much experience, or you think it's not very important, but you will then try to answer another question and much better, but the actually minimum quality is per criterion. If you won't get minimum quality on one question, it means that your quality you do not meet quality proposal at all. So that's quite important. So you need to always check the details, whether it's per criterion or whether it's overall. And please make sure you answer all the questions, because all the questions are actually marked and given points. You will always have in the tender which is minimum that you need to meet as a threshold. And here again is each criteria is evaluated, which is criteria, sub-criteria, and the points are given for each. And then when it comes to the financial offer, so you will have weighting, and this is something also for you to check what weighting is being applied, and this you will find always in the technical specification, which the weighting usually is, can be 60-40, which is 60 quality, 40 price. You can be 70-30, which is 70 quality, for example, for the tenders which are more technical, and actually quality is the more important than the price. Or you can have 50-50. Which then quite often for some supplies or some services which are very generic, then will be usually 50-50. And then with the offer, please remember to use the template which is there provided. Do not deviate from the financial offer template. If it's costing sheet, normally it's protected, so you cannot really do much about it. But happens that there are formulas there, and we had situation that sometimes tenders decided to modify the formulas, which I don't know sometimes how they did it, but they did it. And then we only discovered it when we were actually calculating, and we noticed that there is something wrong with the calculation. So please don't do that, because we will always go back and say, look, formula which is there is the one that is applicable for all the tenderers. We only can calculate it based on the formula which is actually there. So this is quite important. And so here, just to summarize, make sure that you meet the minimum criteria. So check them and tick them. Understand the hour criteria and the weighting as well. So make sure that you read, you see the criterion, you see the minimum quality threshold, and then the weighting which is applied for the quality and for the price. And then, again, highlight the added value in the quality, and offer what is only requested. And test your financial offer. So basically, just calculate, make your numbers, and see how you do with the financial offer. And then when it comes to the finalization of the evaluation, so when the evaluation is finalized and the decision on the winning tender is made, you will receive notification, and notification is being sent to all the tenderers simultaneously and individually. So basically we send at the same time. We prepare all the letters at the same beforehand, and we send at the same time. And you will have letters to successful and unsuccessful tenderers. And there you will have the information. So whenever you receive the notification, if, for example, you were, irrespective on the successful and unsuccessful tenderer, you will already receive information about the evaluation. So you will receive the marks, you will receive the advantages, disadvantages of your tender, and also final scoring and the ranking. So this is something you will always receive, and obviously there will be everything. It will be usually is in the annex at least for EMA. Successful tenderer always receives exactly the same information. And the only thing is that then we say, like, you've been successful, and in the other one you will be unsuccessful. And then if you're unsuccessful, then obviously, like my previous colleague said, you can always ask for the information about the unsuccessful tenderer, the successful tenderer. So you will ask for the name, you can ask for the advantages, disadvantages of their tender, and you can ask about the value of the contract. Sometimes there is little restriction, and that sometimes in certain situations, which is usually in opening competition, this is very specific situation when you actually cannot ask about the value of the contract and advantages, disadvantages of the tenderer. But this is very specific to that procedure. And you can do it, I mean, the agencies have 15 days based on, from the moment that you send that request to actually give you that information. And if there is any debriefing, please use that opportunity. Quite often we also, in the negotiated procedure, sometimes it happens that, for example, the procedure failed for some reason, and we do not get any tenders. We quite often ask for feedback. So please, if you receive this kind of feedback, please answer to it, because we take it into account. And sometimes happens that the tenderer says, like, I'm sorry, but the deadline was too short, or we didn't understand the technical specifications, or there was something in the technical specification which actually didn't fit the market itself. And we take that into account, and we quite often then go through the documents and we check whether actually we made a mistake, and that's why no one actually applied. And then, yeah, we do change that. So if you receive from us such a request for feedback, please reply, because we really appreciate it, and we really take it into account. So just to summarize this part, if you're unsuccessful, check what went wrong. Check your tender. Check what the information that we provided you with the letter. Ask for the winning tender. Check how they did it. Then obviously send us feedback if this is requested, and seek the new opportunities. So always go back to FNT tender portal and check for new opportunities. And here the summary for all the presentation. So just to go through very quickly through it, understand the instruction, tender requirements and the deadlines. Prepare all the documents in advance, ensure that everything, you have all the information and you submit everything as a whole package. Prepare your tender in clear way, ask questions if you have any doubts. So use this ask question in FNT tender portal option. And if there is something unclear from the very beginning, as soon as possible, ask us questions, because obviously we also need time to reply to it. And sometimes we get quite complicated questions, sometimes legal questions, sometimes questions about the technicalities. And us as a procurement officer, we sometimes not know all the technicalities of the tenders. We need to go back to our colleagues and ask them. So that also takes time. And then carefully complete your review on the requirements and on the financial offer. So make sure that what you submit is actually what you want to submit, to be honest. So also with the financial offer, check if the prices you offer are actually the prices you want to receive, you want to get, to be honest. And finalize your submission of your tender in advance. We get quite often at the very end request from the tenderers that they have problem with the submission for different reasons. Sometimes it can be your IT security system, which prevents you sometimes to use FNT tender portal for some reason, and we had that situation. So the earlier you try, the better, to be honest, and always contact Commission webpage, because as a procurement officer, we cannot much help you with that, because we are not the owners of that portal. So ourselves, we cannot do really a lot to help you with that. It needs to be actually Commission FNT portal to help you with that. And always respect communication rules at each stage, and await evaluation feedback, evaluation results, and request feedback. So that's it. Thank you.
Colleagues, do you have questions?
So, if I understand correctly, the submission process is about a month, so 30-ish days. How long does it usually take for the selection process to finalize, if there isn't a specified amount? Thank you.
Well, it depends, I have to say, because it depends on many aspects. One, what kind of procedure it is, how many offers we receive. Because if it's one offer and let's say it's middle value procedure, it shouldn't be that long. But if it's open tender and we get 20, well, if we are lucky to get that many, but sometimes we do. I have to say that at the EMA there are certain procedures that we actually get quite a lot. Usually it is scientific studies. Then the process will be lengthy, unfortunately, because you need to go through all proposal. Evaluation committee usually have 3 members. Sometimes if it's more specific, can be a little bit more in order to basically process all the tenders and evaluate them. So we usually say that, I mean, this is just from a little bit from the experience. So if it's middle value procedures, I would say 2 to 3 weeks for the evaluation committee to do it, depending on usually between 2, 3, 4 tender proposal if we receive. Usually it's around 2 to 3 weeks for us to do it. From our perspective. If it's much complicated, and I'm not talking about the IT solution, all these kind of things, then open procedure standard with, let's say, 2, 3 offers, 4 to 6 weeks for us to evaluate, because that also depends on the what came with how your actually proposal tender submission, how complete it was, whether there was some clarification to be given, some additional documents to be requested. So obviously that extends the time on the evaluation process as well. You can say it from your side if you...
Well, yes, I can add, I confirm what my colleague just said, and let's say that in the tender specification, we always give an indication of the timeline of the whole process. So we set a date by the date of the launch of the tendering process, and we also mention an estimation date for signing the contract. Sometimes we respect that, but there are some times that cannot be respected and that cannot be met because, as she said, as my colleague said, we just have to evaluate how many bids we receive, and in case of many bids or in case of requests for clarification, this can extend the evaluation period and sometimes also up to 2 months. If you want to add.
I would just add, because it happens that at Eurofund we are measuring this over the last good 7 years, I think, and timelines the colleagues were giving you are, I would say, on the bright side of the timeline. And it's actually not because we work inefficiently. The evaluation itself happens relatively quickly. As colleagues said, usually in 2 weeks' time after opening, they are read. But usually the problem is that it's almost like a standard that there are things missing in the offers. The colleagues mentioned that you cannot really submit anything new what you've already submitted, and that can lead to disqualification of your offer. But actually it's a bit more nuanced. When it comes to the exclusion and selection criteria, so anything regarding the situation of your company and the experience and so on, The reality is that if you forget to provide any of the documents, we will come back to you and ask, because that we are allowed to. So that's a very important information to you. You can be a bit sloppy in this area, because if you are not providing the full tender in relation to selection criteria or capacity, we will come back and we ask. Because in principle, you should already have it anyway, because it's your experience, so you just provide these documents. And nobody will penalize you for that. This is a standard, really. And we are almost obliged. If we don't really ask you for those documents, we are having problems later on from the audit's point of view. The important thing is actually that when it comes to technical part, when you are offering us something, we cannot really come back to you and ask about clarifications. We can only ask you, can you show us where in your documents this information is if we cannot find this information? But that's it. So I think that would be the important. But to now come back to the timeline, based on our data, and okay, it's only Eurofund, but you know, when you talk about 7 years, you are talking about hundreds of different tenders. I would say 40 to 60 days for the medium level value contracts, so those contracts up to 143,000, and up to or around 60 to 90 days for contracts of higher value. And I'm talking about the period from the opening of tenders, so when you have a deadline to provide and we open them, because we usually open immediately, to the time the award decision is taken, so that the director of the agency, let's say, says, yeah, this is the winner, I'm happy with the decision of the committee. And then what we do, we send notifications to all the tenderers, which does not mean that on this day you sign the contract, because we inform everybody and then everybody has a time to ask for feedback, and especially if it's a tender above the threshold, we are even obliged to wait a specific period of time if somebody is very unhappy. So as I say, it's between 2 to 3 months usually, but it can go much, much longer if there are some clarifications needed. And then it's not really our making, it's really what we are getting and what quality of the offers. Thank you.
I could just add that I think as a standard, in the open calls, we ask the offers to be valid for 6 months, and in the negotiated procedure, 3 months. So within that time period, we should be able to award.
You covered me.
Any more questions? If there are no more questions, I would say big applause to the colleague who asked the questions for the businesses, because we had one winner. This is a colleague who always asks the questions. Thank you, and I would encourage in the future, if you take part in such seminars, don't be shy. Please ask the questions. I think it's important. And I would like to thank you all the colleagues. Thank you also to the colleagues in Ministry hosting and doing everything here, making it possible. And now we have the last part, which is business to business. There is a room prepared by the Ministry outside this room where are tables where you can meet the agencies. The names of the agencies are placed already on the tables. And I would say, to summarize today, for you, I hope you have seen there are opportunities. You shouldn't be shy. It's a lot of red tape, but if you look closer, this red tape can be overcome, and you have nice people who are willing to help you here today with you, and who are looking for your proposals and would be very happy for any proposal submitted, and we hope this part was interesting for you. Thank you.